The Shadow on the Mountain. The small town of Larkspur, nestled at the foot of the Appalachian Mountains, had always been a place of tranquility, where the whispers of the wind through the trees were more soothing than ominous. But beneath its serene surface lay a shadow that had haunted the community for decades. Legend spoke of a reclusive mountain man known only as the Watcher. He was said to have lived high up in the woods, where the trails were barely visible, and the air was thick with the smell of pine and decay. People rarely ventured there, and those who did often returned with tales of strange occurrences. Maggie Jenkins, a local hiker with an adventurous spirit, decided to explore the mysterious paths of the mountain. Armed with a map and a sense of curiosity, she set off on a crisp autumn morning. The path was steep and treacherous, but Maggie pressed on, driven by the allure of the unknown. As she climbed higher, the air grew colder, and the forest seemed to close in around her. The wind howled like a mournful ghost, carrying with it the distant sound of a faint, haunting melody. It was a song she couldn't quite place, yet it tugged at the edges of her memory. Maggie paused to catch her breath, her heart pounding in her chest. She scanned the area, her eyes catching a glimpse of something out of place. A weathered cabin partially obscured by the trees. Intrigued, she made her way towards it, each step crunching loudly against the fallen leaves. The cabin was old, its wooden exterior worn by years of exposure to the elements. Maggie approached cautiously, her instincts screaming for her to turn back. But curiosity won over fear, and she pushed open the creaking door, the sound echoing through the empty forest. Inside, the air was thick with dust and the scent of damp wood. Cobwebs hung from the rafters like ghostly veils. But it was the walls that held Maggie's attention. They were covered in faded photographs and newspaper clippings, each one depicting faces of people she recognized. Her neighbors, her friends. A shiver ran down her spine as she realized the faces stared back at her, eyes filled with a strange mix of terror and desperation. Maggie backed away, her mind racing to make sense of what she had stumbled upon. As she turned to leave, the door slammed shut with a force that shook the entire cabin. Panic surged through her, and she lunged for the door, desperate to escape. But it was locked tight, and the air grew colder, the shadows lengthening as if alive. Maggie felt a presence behind her, a dark figure lurking just out of sight. "The Watcher," she whispered, fear constricting her throat. She turned to face the shadow, her mind screaming for her to wake from this nightmare. But the shadow advanced, its form shifting and changing, a swirling mass of darkness that threatened to consume her. Maggie fought with all her strength, clawing at the door, screaming for help. But in the isolated mountain wilderness, her cries went unheard. The shadow enveloped her, and the world faded to black. When the townsfolk realized Maggie was missing, a search party was formed. They combed the mountain trails, calling her name, but found no trace of her. Only the abandoned cabin remained, silent and foreboding, a testament to the legend of the Watcher. And so, the shadow on the mountain grew, its secrets buried beneath the earth, waiting for the next curious soul to wander into its grasp. The Lost Symphony. The old concert hall in the heart of New Orleans was a relic of the past, its once grand facade now crumbling with age. Yet, it held a certain allure, a haunting beauty that drew music lovers and ghost hunters alike. Tales of a lost symphony haunted its hallowed halls, a melody that promised both ecstasy and terror. Elena, a talented violinist seeking inspiration, had heard the legends of the Phantom Symphony and was determined to uncover its truth. She arrived at the concert hall on a rainy evening, the sound of raindrops creating a rhythmic symphony of their own as they tapped against the windows. The caretaker, an elderly man with a knowing smile, greeted her at the entrance. "Be careful, miss," he warned, his voice tinged with an accent as thick as the bayou. "The music here is alive, and it doesn't like to be disturbed." Elena nodded, dismissing his words as superstition. She was drawn to the music, not afraid of it. The concert hall was dimly lit, its seats covered in a fine layer of dust. But it was the stage that captured her attention, the grand piano standing proudly beneath the spotlight, as if waiting for its player. As she approached the stage, Elena felt a chill in the air, a shiver that traveled down her spine. The silence was palpable, heavy with anticipation. She lifted her violin, the familiar weight a comfort in her hands, and began to play. The notes echoed through the empty hall, sweet and mournful, each one a tribute to the Lost Symphony. As she played, the air seemed to shimmer, and the shadows danced along the walls. Elena closed her eyes, losing herself in the music. But something was amiss. The notes began to change, the melody twisting into something darker, more sinister. It was as if the violin had a mind of its own, guiding her fingers to play a song she had never heard before. The music swelled, filling the air with an overwhelming presence. Elena's heart raced as the room seemed to come alive. She opened her eyes, and the ghostly figures appeared. A phantom orchestra, their instruments shining under the ghostly glow. They played alongside her, their faces hidden in shadow, their eyes burning with an unnatural light. The music grew louder, the crescendo building to a fevered pitch. Elena felt herself being pulled into the symphony, her body moving with the rhythm, her soul entwined with the haunting melody. She tried to stop, but the music wouldn't let her go, holding her captive in its eerie embrace. As the final note echoed through the hall, the figures vanished, leaving behind only silence. Elena stood frozen, her heart pounding in her chest, her mind reeling from what she had just experienced. The Lost Symphony had been found, but its cost was steep. She lowered her violin, her hands trembling. The concert hall was empty once more, but the music lingered in the air, a whisper of what had been. Elena fled the stage, her heart heavy with the knowledge that the legend was true, and the Phantom Symphony was forever bound to the haunted halls. The caretaker watched her leave, a knowing smile on his lips. He had seen it before, the power of the Lost Symphony, the curse that bound it to the concert hall. And as the rain continued to fall, the melody played on, echoing through the night, waiting for the next musician to brave its haunting call. The forgotten village. Hidden deep within the dense forests of Maine lay a village lost to time. The village of Ravenscroft was a place shrouded in mystery, its existence erased from maps and memories. But those who dared to speak of it whispered tales of a curse that had befallen its inhabitants, a darkness that consumed all who entered. Daniel, an avid explorer and historian, was fascinated by the legend of Ravenscroft. Determined to uncover its secrets, he embarked on a journey into the heart of the forest, guided only by a faded map and the promise of discovery. The path was treacherous, the forest thick with ancient trees that blocked out the sun. But Daniel pressed on, his excitement growing with each step. As he ventured deeper into the woods, the air grew colder, and the shadows seemed to watch him with unseen eyes. After hours of navigating the twisting trails, Daniel stumbled upon the village. It was eerily silent, its wooden structures standing like forgotten sentinels against the encroaching wilderness. The houses were empty, their windows broken and doors ajar, as if the villagers had vanished without a trace. Daniel wandered the deserted streets, his footsteps echoing in the stillness. The village was a ghostly reflection of what it once was, and he couldn't shake the feeling that he was being watched. But curiosity drove him forward, deeper into the heart of Ravenscroft. In the center of the village stood a towering oak tree, its branches twisted and gnarled. At its base was a stone altar, weathered by time but still bearing the marks of an ancient ritual. Daniel approached cautiously, a sense of unease creeping over him. As he examined the altar, he noticed strange symbols etched into the stone. Symbols he recognized from his research as belonging to a long-forgotten cult. The cult was said to have practiced dark magic, their rituals meant to appease malevolent spirits that haunted the land. Daniel's heart raced as he pieced together the mystery of Ravenscroft. The village had been cursed, its inhabitants sacrificed to the dark forces that dwelled within the forest. The legend was true, and the curse was very much alive. Suddenly, a cold breeze swept through the village, carrying with it a faint whisper, a voice that seemed to come from the very air itself. "Leave this place," it warned, a spectral command that sent chills down Daniel's spine. He backed away from the altar, his instincts screaming for him to flee. But as he turned to leave, the ground trembled beneath his feet, and the shadows came alive. Figures emerged from the darkness, their eyes hollow and their faces twisted in eternal anguish. The spirits of Ravenscroft surrounded him, their whispers growing louder, a cacophony of sorrow and despair. Daniel was trapped, the weight of the curse bearing down upon him. He tried to escape, but the spirits held him fast, their icy fingers reaching for his soul. In that moment, Daniel understood the true horror of Ravenscroft. The village was a prison, its curse binding the spirits to the land, forever doomed to repeat their fate. And now, he was a part of it, another lost soul ensnared by the darkness. As the forest swallowed him whole, the village of Ravenscroft faded from view, its secrets hidden once more beneath the shadowed canopy. And the legend lived on, a chilling reminder of the price of curiosity and the darkness that lay waiting in the forgotten corners of the world. The Whispering Gallery. In the heart of the city stood an art gallery known for its exquisite collection of Renaissance paintings and sculptures. But beneath its polished exterior lay a secret that few dared to uncover. A hidden room said to hold a masterpiece unlike any other, a painting that whispered secrets to those who dared to gaze upon it. Evelyn, an art historian with a penchant for uncovering hidden treasures, had heard rumors of the gallery's secret and was determined to see it for herself. She arrived one evening, the gallery's closing time, ready to embark on her clandestine exploration. The gallery was quiet, its halls empty save for the echoes of her footsteps. Evelyn navigated the dimly lit corridors, her heart pounding with anticipation. The paintings on the walls seemed to watch her as she passed, their eyes following her every move. After what felt like an eternity, she found it. A door hidden behind a tapestry, its wood old and warped. Evelyn pushed it open, revealing a narrow staircase that descended into darkness. She hesitated for a moment, her mind racing with the possibilities of what lay below. With a deep breath, she descended the stairs, her flashlight casting eerie shadows on the stone walls. The air grew colder as she reached the bottom, the musty scent of age and neglect filling her senses. Before her stood a heavy wooden door, its surface etched with intricate carvings that seemed to pulse with an otherworldly energy. Evelyn pushed open the door, revealing a small, dimly lit room. The walls were lined with paintings, but it was the one at the center that drew her in. A large canvas draped in a silk cloth, its presence commanding the room. She approached the painting, her curiosity overwhelming her caution. With trembling hands, she removed the cloth, revealing a portrait of a woman. The figure was ethereal, her eyes piercing and alive, as if she were gazing into Evelyn's very soul. As Evelyn studied the painting, she heard it, a faint whisper, a voice that seemed to come from the painting itself. The words were indistinct, a soft susurration that filled the room. She leaned closer, trying to decipher the message, her mind struggling to comprehend the impossible. The whisper grew louder, the words clearer. They spoke of secrets long buried, of truths hidden from the world. Evelyn felt herself being drawn into the painting, her mind unraveling as the whispers wrapped around her like a shroud. Panic surged through her, but it was too late. The painting's power was undeniable, its influence inescapable. The woman in the portrait seemed to smile, her eyes glowing with a malevolent light. The whispers became a cacophony, a symphony of madness that echoed in Evelyn's mind. She tried to tear herself away, but her body refused to obey. The painting held her captive, its whispers consuming her, binding her to its dark legacy. Evelyn's screams went unheard, lost to the depths of the gallery and the silence of the night. When the gallery reopened the next day, the staff found the hidden room empty, its secrets undisturbed. But those who entered the gallery would swear they felt a presence, a whisper of something unseen, watching from the shadows. The painting remained, its secrets locked away, waiting for the next curious soul to uncover its truth. And the legend of the Whispering Gallery grew, a chilling reminder of the power of art and the darkness that lurked within its depths.